Unity Fort Worth. Today is Saturday, November 7th, 2020, and this is Unity Fort Worth's Pray-In. Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad that you came on this fine Saturday morning to contribute by being here, participate, and be a part of Unity Fort Worth. And thank you for being here just to give me someone to interact with. At the very least, someone to know that there are others out there in which that which I align with and that which you align with have so many pathways that they cross each other. And it's fun sometimes discovering those connections, whether we know them today or not. So thank you for being here. As always, we start with our daily word. Dailyword.org is where you can find today's daily word, but you can also find other days if you want to buy a prescription, meaning that you can only find today's daily word at dailyword.org. And if you want to find yesterday's and last week's, last month's, 40 years ago daily word, there's a subscription service that you can purchase there to get it digitally or in print. But let's go to the daily word. For today's daily word is guidance. In the indwelling spirit, let me try again. My indwelling spiritual presence guides my life. Let's put that in our chat. My indwelling spiritual presence guides my life. Let's say that together. My indwelling spiritual presence guides my life. It is easy to trust the guidance of my inner wisdom when everything is going well in my life. However, what happens to my faith when storm clouds appear? Releasing my concerns, I open to the spiritual presence within. If I hold worries in my mind and try to solve them myself, I can't always see the divinely inspired answers that may be right in front of my face. Instead, I choose to hold fast to my belief that divine guidance will carry me through uncertain times. Guidance can come in ways that may surprise me. It can come when I least expect it, so I keep my mind open and receptive. The still small voice inside directs me to my perfect path and inspires me to follow. I know that all is well. And our verse today is from Luke 1:79. Give light to those who sit in the darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. My indwelling spiritual presence guides my life. Together, my indwelling spiritual presence guides my life. Guidance is something that I can say I've spent a little time with in my life. Maybe all of us have, and just wondering what is guidance? What's it sound like? How do I understand it? How do you access it? And then if you're accessing it, how does it come to me? How does it reveal, and what am I supposed to do with it? Questions that have been a long road, and those questions I have some answers for, and believe and know that I've got more answers to come on that. So Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, had a lot to say on guidance, directly and indirectly, as did Myrtle Fillmore, the other co-founder, his spouse. They both had a lot when it came to talking about and recognizing guidance. Guidance, if we look at the definition, is just the act or function of guidance, leadership, direction. And when Charles Fillmore talks about it, he talks about it as recognizing guidance as diving into understanding. He says there are two ways to get understanding. One is to follow the guidance of spirit that dwells within, and the other is to go blindly ahead and learn by hard experience. Um, so he says there's two ways. You can pick either one you want, but that hard experience is necessary. Um, you can be obedient to the truth. That means aligning, resting, being in presence and experience of the truth. That saves us from having to take that hard experience. And the main thing he talks about that interferes with us recognizing that inner knowing, our guidance, or that voice of intuition, is that it's caused by our own mechanical talking. I know that term, mechanical talking, as monkey mind, that own internal voice that ruminates and talks as loud and as voluminously, as lengthy, can fill in every nook and cranny of my thoughts so that all I'm consumed with are what my thoughts are, and thus miss and aren't aligned with that soft, gentle voice of guidance. Charles goes on to tell us too about that guidance has its own language, and the language of communicating in God, this communication guidance, if you think of those as one and the same, is not, he's not able to really define that well, and he says that. I can't tell you exactly what that language is, because we're talking about a standpoint of using words to convey ideas, and that the language of God is God ideas. So I'm having to take, according to Charles, I'm having to take God ideas and now try to turn them into words for you. So that language, really, of communicating with God is communicating with God ideas. And will it come as a voice? Well, Charles says no, it doesn't come as a voice. Maybe I might add that we might recognize it as a voice and turn it into words, because as we gain experience with guidance and get clarity about what those divine ideas are revealing to us, we want to be able to communicate it and to act upon it, and that we in our internal makeup convert it into something that we can label, define for ourselves, and that's our words. That's our way of communicating in our external life. So as he continues on, Charles tells us that compared to this audible language, it really isn't audible language, meaning our external, that our communion in mind is really without a sound, that it's that still small voice that we mentioned earlier, and that it's a voice that really isn't a voice, and it's words that aren't words, yet it's a language as definite and as clear as any words or sounds that we could ever imagine in our life. Yet there are no limitations in this language. So if this language isn't sound, then what is it? That silence and stillness, that comes to us, and as we bring it into our human consciousness, then it becomes knowing. And in that knowing and the feeling nature that goes with that, although it wasn't audible with these great definitions and explanations when it came to us as that guidance, in the knowing, we know. We translate that into word language. And in that translation, then it becomes something that becomes our language of humans. And we can now act upon that. Because guidance is there partly, at least, for us to act upon, meaning to do. The fifth principle of unity. It's not enough to know these understandings and teachings. We must do. We must put them into action as well. So, how do we recognize this guidance? Um, well, you practice it. That's some of Charles's answer for us. Practice it. It's you sitting down and practicing it. How do we practice? We practice with study, spiritual study, prayer, and meditation. So if we want to recognize that guidance, bring it in so that we have a knowing of it and then act upon it, there's practice. And the practice is just that, spiritual study. He didn't limit it to prayer and meditation. He says that there's study that's involved as well. So that time should be given to prayer and meditation, and that we can't grow without them. And if we neglect them, we're going to have a hard time developing our spiritual powers. But the prayer and meditation are how we then enact and practice that understanding that we gained through our spiritual study. So guidance is that small, still voice that isn't a voice that's brought into our consciousness and we bring into knowing. And through the practice of inner stillness and silence, which involve prayer and meditation and the exploration of spiritual study, allows us to recognize that divine guidance more clearly, more definitively in our life. And I believe that for all of us, it doesn't matter what depth we have of recognizing that today, there's probably a greater depth that we can expand into. And that is why we practice. And that's today's piece on the discovery of guidance. So let's take our guidance into prayer. So with this, if you'd like to take a breath and settle in all our thoughts around guidance, thinking, prayer, and meditation, we're going to let that settle and drift away. And in this place of relaxing, relax in, allowing our body to recognize and to be able to concentrate on that there is one power and one presence, this divine nature, this God within, guidance, intuition. The still voice is ours. It's alive and present, does not have to be sought after. It's right here arising. And that in our recognition that we take into meditation, that idea of meditating upon that stillness and silence, and here in our prayer, that is the ability to grasp that still small voice, holding it close, and in realization that this is who I am. This guidance I seek is my still small voice, and the clarity of divine ideas opens up, and then I have clarity of thought, clarity of mind, and that I am one fully and completely with my own guidance, because I am divine mind. I am source. I am principle. And all that I've sought in my prayers, all that I've witnessed in my prayer requests to my friends and family in the world, I bring into the recognition that the answers, the guidance, the direction is already there. It is who I am. And with this, we're grateful for this recognition, grateful for our time to come together, and grateful that there is one power and one source of which we recognize our experience and our expression and our life as. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for joining us. As always, I invite you to go check out unityfortworth.org, especially /calendar, because you'll find that there's new events coming up. But there's on the website, you'll find podcasts, you'll find newsletters. There are happenings that are coming up in the future that are new happenings, especially as we move in through the last couple months here of 2020 for us. With that, thank you. Be blessed. Look forward to seeing you soon.